Gail and I were working with another young married couple named Ron and Linda at a bar on the southeast side of Sacramento, California. It was out at the edge of town, almost in the country. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. We had to work at those particular hours because the bar was open until 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was laying some tile on the floor down behind the bar counter. And Ron got my attention, and he said, "Ray, can you do something with that man over there?" And I stood up, and there was a man leaning against the wall. Looked like he needed the wall for support. So I got his attention. I told him, the bar's closed. We're not open. You're going to have to go home. And he just looked at me. And it irritated me a little bit because I thought, here it is, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not doing this for the fun of it. I can't really deal with this guy that much. So I told him, I said, "Look, the bar is closed. We are working here. You can't interfere with the work. You have to go home." And he staggered over to the bar where I was, and he leaned on it, and he gave me an ugly look. And I was just about to start to get angry, thinking about the time I'd have to deal with him. And I thought, we're out at the edge of town, kind of in the country. If he has to drive, oh my goodness, he could just barely make it over here to the bar. So I thought, I'm going to have some time dealing with this man, and it disturbed me a little bit. And I told him, I said, "Do you have a way to get home?" He didn't say anything. And I said, "Now look, I'll help you out if you'll let me. I'll take you home, but you can't be here. We're working." And he said, "There ain't anything you can do to help me." And I looked at him, and he looked at me. And I said, "I'll take you home. Just tell me where you live, and I'll take you home." "No," and he cursed a little bit. Well, I didn't know quite what to do with him. So I was looking at him. I'm trying to make up my mind. Well, maybe I can forcibly just carry him out to the car or something. And then a thought come to my mind, and I said, "Tell me about your dreams." "My dreams?" I said, "Yes, tell me about your dream." And he started crying, and he cried, and he cried, and he cried. He said, "I've been having this same dream for years now. I'm in this really deep ravine, and I try to climb out, and I can't climb out. I keep sliding back down. I can't climb out. There's no food, no water, and I'm dying. I'm dying down in this ravine." And I said, "Well, you can't get out." And he said, "I know that. God damn it, I'm the one that told you I can't get out." And I said, "No, I want you to listen to me. There's no way you can possibly get yourself out of that ravine." "I know that." So we're sitting there arguing with each other, and he's spitting on me a little bit when he talks. And I said, "Well, listen. I want you to have that same dream, but don't try to get out." "Well, I have to, you stupid," cussing more. I said, "Well, listen, instead of trying to get out, look for Jesus." and you're going to have to forgive me, but the way he talked and the way he felt and the way it impressed me, he said, I wouldn't know the son of a bitch if I saw him. So I grabbed him by the front of his shirt and I rattled his head around. I looked over and my wife and Ron and his wife were looking at me like, oh my God. So I shook him up, rattled him around. He's leaning on my side of the bar almost by then. I got hold of his collar. I told him, I said, take a real good look at me. Look at me. Boy, and he tries to fight and he couldn't. I had him. Look at me. I'm getting real fierce with him. And I rattled him around a little bit more. Take a real good look at me. I said, next time you have that dream, look for me. You know what I look like. You look for me. And Jesus will help you out of that ravine. And I threw him back and he fell on the floor and he crunched and rolled over and flopped and was twitching. Oh my God, what have I done now? So I went around from the bar and he saw me coming and boy, he scrambled out of there, out the door. I was stunned. My wife looking at me like, what'd you do to that old man? Well, so I thought I got to go find him. 3, 4 o'clock in the morning now, I got to go find him. Take him home if he's coherent enough to tell me. I went outside and I couldn't find him. We were, like I said, in the country a little bit. There's no houses nearby. I couldn't find him. The next day, I told the man that we worked for about him, and he told me, he said, well, that's old Gene Turner. He's a horrible alcoholic, but he's a really good person. He said, I have a pickup camper shell out back behind the bar, and he stays in that. He sleeps in it. It don't have any electricity or anything or water, but I let him stay there. And that was the end of that particular part of the story. About 15 years later, I got a call from a brother from the Church of Firstborn. This is after I'd been excommunicated, rejected, whatever. And he asked me if I could bring my wife and come over to his house and eat dinner with him and his wife. He said he had something he wanted to talk to me about. And I told him, yeah, I did. So we showed up at, his name was Ivan's house, and we had a nice dinner, and he told me, he said, Ray, he said, you've been a subject on my mind for several years now. He said, I keep thinking about it. I don't know why you impressed me with the way you look. And I thought, the way I look. He said, you got this great big horrendous mustache. And you're short and you're stocky. You look pretty strong. He said, I've had that thought in my mind for several years. And he said, I'm going to tell you why, and you tell me what you think. He said, I had a brother, and he died a few years ago. And for the most of his latter part of his life, he was a horrible alcoholic. And I took him to church one time back in Oklahoma, and he got a prophecy telling him that if he didn't return to church, he would die alone and terribly lonesome. He said, but Ray, the thing was, he didn't die alone. I was with him. And another thing, he never did go back to church. And I was thinking, well, why is he telling me this? He said the thing was, he was happy. He was in a good mood. He was healthy, except he had already destroyed his liver and everything with the alcohol, and He was dying, but he was happy. He was in a good mood. And he had been that way for many years that I remember. And so I asked him about it, and he told me that a few years before that, he had met this short, stocky man with a great big mustache. And that man helped me find Jesus in a ravine. So I looked at Ivan and I said, Ivan, let me tell you the rest of the story. And then after I told him that I was the man, and he said, but he never did go back to church. I said, yes, he did. He went back to the body of Christ. He didn't go to a church building with people in it, but he went back to his Father's house.